Good evening, everyone. I welcome you all at National Smart Cities Conclave. We are here for the panel discussion 3 Smart City Components, the core infrastructure elements with smart utilities, facilities, and governance. Today, we have some eminent speakers with us. I would like to invite our moderator, Shri Iftikhar Kakru, Chief Engineer, Srinagar Smart City Limited. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Farhan. Thank you. Thanks a lot. So
We
I have
have,
been.
yeah,
Yeah,
yes, sir.
please carry on. Yeah.
Okay. We have with us Shri Devendra Kumar, Commissioner, Ajmer Municipal Corporation. Welcome, Devanji.
Thank you.
Our another speaker is Dr. Bashir Ahmed Bhatt, Vice Chairman, Lakes Conservation and Management Authorities, Srinagar. Welcome, Bashir sir.
Thank you.
Now I would like to invite Shri Om Hemarajan, Principal, Genesis International Corporation Limited.
Hello,
I
everybody.
welcome you.
Good afternoon.
I would like to invite Shri Yogesh Kumar, Nodal Officer, Smart Metering, Uttar Pradesh Power Corporation Limited. Welcome, Yogesh ji.
Thank you, everyone.
Now I would like to invite Ms. Latha Raman, President and Urban Storm Water Management and Sanitization Expert, CDD Society. I welcome you, Latha Raman ji.
Hi, thank you.
And our more speaker, Shri Sanyam Agarwal and Gaurang Rathi will join us soon. Over to you, Iftikhar sir.
Thank you, Mr. Farhan. I have been given this very difficult task of moderating the very important panel discussion on core infrastructure elements with smart utilities, facilities, and governance. We have, this is a very heavy duty panel, and it is very important that we delve on the issues related to infrastructure, core infrastructure. And Srinagar City, as Farhan was mentioning, I am the chief here of the Srinagar Smart City. We are late comers in the Smart City mission because we are category 4 projects, and it's very important that we learn from you, we hear from you, so that whatever experience you had while implementing the project, we learn from them, and because there are certain best practices that would have been created while you were implementing the project. And so we'll start. In fact, generally in all infrastructure projects, it is very important that we take people on board, the citizens on board, the stakeholders on board. And generally, it has been seen in the past in the country there was no culture of stakeholder consultation. But over the years, this very nice practice of consulting people, consulting the beneficiaries has started, and Smart City is also one of such projects where stakeholder consultation is very important. So I would like your opinion on how important it is to consult citizens while you are implementing the smart city projects, and how this has been done in your projects, and or how is it being done in your projects. So I would first like to ask this question to Mr. Devendra Kumar, the Commissioner, Ajmer Municipal Corporation, and request him to talk about this very important aspect of project implementation. Mr. Devendra Kumar.
Thank you so much. Consulting people, I think that is the core of all infrastructure projects. Um, uh, Basically, what I've seen is the experience that we have had in Ajmer is that we have had very rich consultation process. And the reason why this is important is as smart city, we are here for a limited time. We are here for 3 years or 5 years. After that, once all the project gets executed, we'll wind up. But the projects, but the people who are really affected, for example building a road, building sanitation related to water, electricity, it is the people to whom will ultimately hand over all these projects. And therefore it is important that all the projects are executed as per the needs and demand of the people. uh, Sometimes if we don't take their consideration, their views into consideration, we run into a lot of issues like agitations, or acquisition issues. Many issues we run into if people are not taken on board from the start. And in Ajmer, since beginning, there is a consultation meeting where people, there were many, I would say, runathons where peoples were asked to give inputs as to what projects should be taken, and based on their feedbacks, projects were taken up and then executed. At local level, what parshas were consulted, member of parliaments were consulted, MLAs were consulted. Even in defining ABD area, there was wider consultation, and that is one of the reason why projects in Ajmer are getting executed on time. And even in ranking, Ajmer ranks in top 20 across India. And this is the reason that since people were on board since day one, we are timely executing all the projects, and we are getting good feedback from people regarding all the projects that we are running.
Thank you, sir. Uh, as you mentioned, stakeholder consultation is so critical to the longevity and the success of all infrastructure projects. And you only have the experience of very active stakeholder consultation. And we also in Srinagar Smart City we have a program called My City My Ideas, and we generally consult people if not on a weekly basis but on a fortnightly basis, wherein we assemble them on riverfronts, on roads, in public spaces, and talk to them about the issues that they face and what they look through their prism at the infrastructure being created or upgraded under the smart city mission. My next speaker would be Dr. Bashir Bhatt. And Dr. Bashir Bhatt, because I happen to know him being he's posted in Srinagar only. And let me tell you that no, he is his role as the vice chairman of the Lakes and Waterways. Now it's called Lakes Conservation Management Authority. Previously, it was known as Lakes and Waterways Development Authority. They have to handle people day in and day out, because the lake conservation project that they are handling entails a lot of stakeholder consultation, and also it entails a lot of interaction with people, because there is a lot of rehabilitation, relocation of people involved, and there is a lot of sewerage issues, stormwater issues associated with the project. So, Bashir Saab, what is your view about the importance of stakeholder consultation to any project, be it your project or smart city project, and how is what different are you doing compared to other government projects while we talk about works which are part of the smart city project? Over to you, Bashir Saab.
Good afternoon, everyone. Uh, as rightly pointed out by you, stakeholder consultation is the very basic requirement of any of the successful projects that there should be. In respect of our authority, which has the mandate of conservation of the lakes, especially in respect of the Srinagar, it is the Dal Lake that is to be conserved, and there are certain other water bodies also. Stakeholder consultation is the basic requirement, as I tell you, because Dal Lake is a very unique thing. It is a live ecosystem, and there are, for the information of the participants, I would say that there are 58 hamlets in the Dal Lake itself, and it feeds a population of 50 to 70,000 people. And these people have always been there. They have been for times immemorial, and their expertise, not just in terms of the sanitation or the deweeding that we do, is very essential. We put to use their understanding, and we put to use what they have, what they think about the lake, and what conservation methods, traditional conservation methods they have been utilizing or doing in their peripheral, in their periphery, in the hamlets. We put them to use. We also sort of deploy them in the other areas where we feel we require them. Furthermore, we have engaged a lot of NGOs in special drives that have been conducted in respect of the cleanliness of the lake. And all the more, it is very important that since environmental sustainability is one of the core areas of smart city. And in fact, I can say that Dal Lake forms an essential component of any of the what you call it. If Srinagar is to be smarter, Dal Lake has to be sort of reflective of that very thing. So in that respect, we utilize also Smart City Forum, as we have recently done some of the ideathons, and the Dal Lake Ideathon was conducted, special drives were conducted. Beyond that, there's a regular consultative process where we engage shikara walas, where we engage houseboat walas, where we engage the Dal dwellers itself for these engagements. I would say it's not unique. These are not unique things, but since this is very essential for any conservation project, and all the more in respect of the focus that is on Dal Lake, I think this is very essential. And I'll give you an example. Also, there's a water body adjacent to the Dal Lake that's called the Gilsar Lake. Smart City has Smart City and all the stakeholders, and in fact, that was a community participative exercise where people themselves started cleanliness of that water body, and it has transformed hugely. And it is because of the public participation and engagement that is one of the success stories of Srinagar Smart City. Thank you.
Thank you, Bashir Saab. In fact, we are privy to the efforts that are undertaken by the authority with regard to stakeholder consultation, the difficulties that you face while you implement the plans that you have for conservation of the lake. You mentioned Gilsar Lake. You mentioned I know there's an extension of Gilsar Lake called the Kushalsar Lake, and in fact that time when we started the project, it was done essentially by Srinagar Municipal Corporation and the Srinagar Smart City Limited. I was incidentally the chief of the Irrigation and Flood Control Department. We also chipped in, and we provided the wherewithal in the form of these water masters. And we could see that what stakeholder consultation and participatory approach it can lead to miracles, and that is manifest in the revival of that very important water body in the city of Srinagar. I would now request Mr. Gaurang Rathi to please enlighten us about what he thinks about this very critical part of project implementation. Mr. Gaurang Rathi, is it there? Mr. Gaurang Rathi, are you there? I don't think he's there. So I would now request Mr. Om Him Rajani, as to incidentally he comes from the private sector, but still because they day in and day out implement projects on for the government, on behalf of the government, and they are also very concerned that the projects sustain, and they have longevity, they have perpetuity, and for that to happen, stakeholder consultation is very important. Mr. Him Rajni, what are your views about importance of stakeholder consultation or citizen consultation in implementation of the project?
Hi, I come from different segment of this planet. We are the ones who supply tools for the corporations and entities to do their job well. I'm hearing wonderful things right now, what's been done in Dal Lake, etc. From our perspective, we feel that good quality of data does not exist in India. Whatever great ideas that we may come up with, if there's no data, it's difficult to implement the program. The smart cities, Amrut programs, all these programs have got great ideas and great people trying to manage it. However, what I feel is that what they're trying to manage is from very inadequate data. For instance, if you look at a map which is supplied by an overseas entity called Google, and then you have got Google Map and you see a polygon, you do not know whether you're talking about a 1-floor building or 76-story building. You have no idea. The mapping in India has been largely 2D until February 15th, when the Prime Minister opened up the mapping landscape of the nation. We work with several companies, entities overseas since last 25 years in US, UK, Europe, Japan, everywhere. There we talk about different sort of mapping. In India, we had very antiquated old maps, and we were, and the government, the local government, the municipal corporations were handicapped by using these maps only to implement their lofty programs. They were unable to do so. I mean, we feel that there's garbage in, garbage out. The world is not 2D, the world is 3D. Despite whatever you do, if you don't have tools to do it, how are you going to manage this city? I live in Bombay City, and Bombay City, as you know, has got 60% of the city lives in slums, as you know, all right? 60%. And we have the tallest buildings in India. We've got the seashore. We got whatever. Bombay is a very congested city, and I work very closely with the Bombay Municipal Corporation. There are 147 departments there, and all of them have different maps. All antiquated, meaningless maps. So what we did, and since we firmly believe in that the world is 3D, so you require three-dimensional maps to manage a three-dimensional world. So we have embarked on a very ambitious program that's called the Digital Twin Cities. We fly with advanced cameras, with the LiDAR sensors. We drive all the streets of the city with these LiDAR cameras and sensors, and we merge the aerial data and the street data, and we create something called Super Mesh Digital Twin. Basically, the data that we have represents reality. A map itself is supposed to be a replica of reality, but your 2D map just shows you lines and dots. So we, as Genesis, have embarked on this program to create digital twins of all cities, top 100 cities of India. And we've done some samples, and we'll be launching it next week, majorly. And we feel that our kind of data will be very useful, not only for the citizens, but also for the management to conduct their activities.
Thank you. In fact, that reminds me of something. I was basically before my irrigation department posting, I was part of the Jhelum and Tavi flood recovery project. I don't know whether you have heard about this project. It's a World Bank funded project, and part of this project, we were supposed to develop these digital terrain models for River Jhelum. We are a flood-prone area. The slope is very low. It's a 2-degree slope, and this is the only channel that drains the valley of Kashmir. But somehow we could not procure the LiDAR survey because initially this being a defense area, we did not get the defense clearance, and then ultimately we entrusted the job to the Geological Survey of India, in fact. But somehow that also did not happen because the clearance from the defense was not forthcoming. But I'll ask you later, whether for areas like Kashmir or areas which are on the line of control or on the border with China, can we have in terms of technology something other than LiDAR survey that takes care of our requirements for developing flood digital terrain models for flood forecasting and all associated activities. I'll come to you on to that later. Yeah, I would now request Mr. Yogesh Kumar. Yogesh Kumar, he's the nodal officer for Smart Meters Uttar Pradesh Power Corporation Limited, and any power company has this very very difficult and onerous task of taking people on board when power reforms in the form of smart metering or in the form of HVDS is concerned, and these also being part of the smart city projects implementation of these smart meters or SCADA or HVDS. What is your view on consultation with people, and how are you doing it in your company, Mr. Yogesh Kumar?
Yeah, thank you, Ifrar sir. Actually, consultation is must for successful of any project, because if we are giving the services to the persons who are using the services, if they are satisfied with our services, then our project is successful. That's why consultation is very critical activity that must have to be performed by every agency. As our system that when we go to any higher technology, then for consultant to the people of the that area or particular person, we must aware the persons so that the customer is aware that we are giving this new technology that will be beneficial in such a way that will improve his lifestyle and will be beneficial to their livelihood. Then, after educating the persons or awareness program, then only consultation will be better uh, in the better side. If without awareness we are going to consult the person, then the person is giving the knowledge that is useless for as far as the technical reasons. Maybe some features, something is useful. Then after awareness, we take care of the consultation from the people. And as far as all of you know that if the consultation of every person is different, every person who is utilizing the our services is having the different perception about our services. So we take the feedback consultation from the persons from the field, then analyze that consultation. To after analyzation, we will get the uh, best points that have to be adopted in the system for our improvement and giving the better services to the consumers or persons who are using the this system. After analysis, we implement that process. As far as smart metering concerned in UP, we also we are installing the smart meter. 11.5 lakh meter has been installed in UP as per present conditions. Total project is 40 lakh. This is the biggest project in India for smart metering. In starting we got the multiple issues for installing emitter, then we gave the different pamphlets, videos to the consumers for educating them that they will get the benefit of the smart meter, what type of benefits they are giving, that they can get the instant energy, instant uh, consumption pattern, and they can minimize their consumption pattern also. Then we firstly we are giving it to educate the persons of the consumers. Then after 1 year, we have gone repeatedly to the consumers. There we have taken the feedback because as you know that the person who is using a technology is aware only after using their technology and give the better feedback after the using that technology. Then consumers have given me some feedback, multiple type of feedback that they need the daily reading, they need the integration with the different type of portals for payment and multiple things. So that feedback we again adopted in improvement of the system. Then only we are presently able to serve the consumers 98.7% billing percentage. And also as far as consumer turn up is also, this is also approximately 95% consumer turn up. So feedback is must for success of the every project. Thank you everyone.
Thank you, Mr. Yogesh Kumar. Now I'll go to Ms. Latha Raman. Ms. Raman, actually, no, Srinagar city being a valley, there are huge problems of drainage, stormwater drainage, and flooding in Srinagar city. So there is a a huge network of these pumping stations, which actually pump out the flood waters and use the river Jhelum as the drainage channel. You know, obviously because these urban flooding concerns everybody. Urban flooding, particularly in view of the climate change and the great predictability that is there about precipitation and related issues. So it's very important that while we plan these drainage networks, drainage schemes, that we take into account the aspirations of the people, and and the realities that are there with regard to geographical positions, or the placement of these localities. In what way do you think that we should resort to public consultation while we plan these drainage schemes, stormwater drainage scheme, or sewerage schemes? Over to you, Ms. Raman.
Hi, good evening to you all once again. And let me first thank you all for this
Ma'am,
opportunity to be.
Lata ma'am, sorry to interrupt, and before we go to
Yeah,
your
please.
question, I would
Yeah.
like to welcome Shri Gaurang Rathi, Commissioner, Aligarh Municipal Corporation, and Shri Sayam Agarwal, Commissioner, Pathankot Municipal Corporation. They have just joined us, so they are the part of this panel. We can now over to you, Lata ma'am.
Sure. Thank you. No worries. Yeah, so I was just saying that it's a privilege to be part of this heavy duty panel, as Mr. Kakru was saying, and a very meaningful discussion too. I probably stand on the other side of it. I know that you're all decision makers, most of you are decision makers. I represent CDD Society of India. We are actually an NGO. We've been in the water and sanitation sector for over the last 2.5 decades. I think we started our works in late 90s and going on. We have over the years though we started off with decentralized nature-based approaches to liquid waste management. Today, we have gained knowledge in interventions related to decentralized liquid waste management, integrated urban water management, water body rejuvenation, um, solid waste management, etc., etc. And it's been, and listening to, I mean, the questions raised and also the earlier discussions, CDD has also been part of some of these very interesting projects, like one of the recent smart city projects that we had opportunity to be part of, is, which I'd like to share with you, is about this Coimbatore. Actually, Coimbatore city was probably the first city in the 100 cities which actually gave stress to the concept of eco restoration in its project proposal, which actually was triggered off through people's participation, actually. So I think it's a good start for the whole thing, because actually I don't know how many of you know that actually Coimbatore has this about 9 or 10 very large lakes, from 30 to 300 acres in extent, which were all actually part of, you were talking to me, Mr. Sorry, get you. Yeah, on the whole interlinkage between water management, stormwater drainage, the overall ecosystem, etc. In fact, I think that is a very crucial point, because when we looked at the Coimbatore 8 lake city, what actually most of these lakes and our water bodies and all are, traditionally they used to have mainly two functions. One was, of course, flood management, uh, maintaining the water balance of the city, and the second was, of course, irrigation. Of course, over the years, when we have become more dependent on piped water supply, etc., many of these water bodies have lost its purpose as, and in many cases, they used to be navigable water bodies also. So while we now look at rejuvenation of water bodies or stormwater management and all that, I think it's very important that we try and understand and assimilate the traditional knowledge of the people who have been there, their problems, etc., etc., and at the same time bring in modern or the state of the art interventions which can balance and then create a very sustainable solution. And the need to have people's participation, I think. So this Coimbatore project, I think it had a very able municipal commissioner, but it also had a very strong people's participation through NGOs like Sirithuli and Kulangal, Padukappu Mayam, and all that, who had a big voice in helping us understand the whole situation and look at it not only from a technical solution point of view, but actually look at it as bringing in or reviving the cultural importance of this whole scenario. And another small intervention that I'd like to talk about is also another project that we have done down south in Kerala, from where I come to. a small city called Alleppey, which is also known as the Venice of the East, where we try to get into the rejuvenation of the canal network of Alleppey with a main focus of getting community participation. So there we actually consciously built in the people's consultations in three aspects. I know that earlier speakers, Mr. Om and Mr. Devendra Kumar, were also talking about two major facts. One is the lack of proper data, and second is a sense of ownership when we move out of the scene. So how we actually address this is that when we started work on the technical interventions of the rejuvenation of the water body, I'm not going into the details of it. What we did is that there was also a very conscious campaign which was initiated by the local youth. In Alleppey, it was called the Can Alpi, just like Alleppey Can kind of. So they actually had made in a big social media presence. They developed a Facebook page. They were on Twitter. They formed small groups of school children, college youth, women's groups, etc., wherein we all kind of sat and discussed various aspects of what actually causes, I mean, what is needed for rejuvenation, etc. Besides that, the second aspect of it was what we consciously did is on data collection. So we realized that, as Mr. Om was rightly saying, that there is so much lack of data to actually get into a project like this. So what we thought is that why can't you make use of the existing strength of student population, of academic institutions to actually gather the data. So we actually called it as crowdsourcing of data. In fact, we developed apps where students could actually, it's an adaptation of the Google map where people could actually walk through and mark specific areas like hotspots which needed intervention, flooding areas, etc., etc. We made use of the large student population. So we had like three academic sessions. There were two winter schools and the summer schools where we had students from all over the country, engineering, architecture, planning students who came and participated and understood the whole project. And in that process, they helped us gather data, including taking physical surveys, water quality testing, socioeconomic surveys, etc., which was a very probably a pioneering initiative, because not only does it give the students an opportunity to intervene with real life situations, it also develops a lot of confidence in the community, because then they feel, okay, our kids are coming to actually ask data, and therefore there is a much more openness in kind of assimilating the data. The third aspect that we concentrated was also in forming, when we were forming this rejuvenation project, we formed local citizens committees who kind of who were working with us through the project. And by the end of the project, they had actually understood enough about the project that after that, we actually continued after the implementation about a year or two of hand-holding the committees. And today, I'm happy to say that they have taken ownership of it. So if you go there, you're actually finding the local community women who are actually taking care of the wastewater treatment systems or cleaning up the canals, etc. So I think it's very important that we do it from the start, handhold them through, and then leave it to them to kind of take care of the ownership. So it opens up a lot of possibilities, actually. So I conclude.
Thank you, Mr. Raju. Thank you for underlying the importance of stakeholder consultation and your experience in planning these projects and being part of the entire, the overall, entire gamut of stakeholder consultations, citizen consultation for successful implementation of the projects. I welcome Mr. Gaurang Rathi, Municipal Commissioner, Aligarh Municipal Corporation, and Mr. Saneem Agarwal, Deputy Commissioner Pathankot, to the discussion. They were a little late in joining. So I would now request, I think by now they must have got an idea as to what we are talking about. Mr. Gaurang, I'll first come to you. We were talking about the importance of stakeholder consultation or citizen consultation in implementation of projects, particularly smart city projects. And I want I request you to enlighten us with your views on this very important subject. Mr. Gaurang.
सर अभी थोड़ा गए हैं, अभी आते हैं, मैं तुरंत बोलता हूँ सर.
So can we then go to Mr. Saneem Agarwal? Is Mr. Saneem Agarwal there? Farhan sir?
No, sir. No, sir. No, Iftikhar sir, I think he has left. So I will notify once he enter.
Okay. So, we had, very, very fruitful interaction on the aspect of stakeholder consultation, citizen consultation, and there are a lot of learnings from what you have said, what all the panelists have said, and particularly with regard to the experience that they had in their respective projects. So I'll take the discussion further, and I would talk about a very important aspect of any project implementation, particularly smart city projects. Every city has this multi-utility framework architecture of implementing projects, because there are core departments that look at various projects like roads, like water supply, like electricity distribution or transmission, and drainage, sewerage, and then there is certainly a project called Smart City which looks at upgrading the infrastructure, and then the linkages between these line departments that we often call them line departments, and it is a challenge to to take them along and bring them to a common understanding, to a common table, and all cities face this, some quite severely, some maybe not in that degree of severity. And I would like to now, listen from the panelists that how this challenge has been tackled in your city. So I would first go to Mr. Devendra Kumar. Sir, are you there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Mr. Devendra Kumar, are you there, sir?
Yes.
So your views on this?
So this is an excellent question, and I think the execution of projects, the cities, the ranking of smart cities that we get, cities that have been able to coordinate with all the departments, they have ranked higher. They have done excellent. They have executed projects excellently, and cities where the coordination has been missing, their projects are delayed, or they have not been able to complete. They have run into cost overrun have happened there. So how do we ensure coordination between different departments, 9 departments, and for that matter, smart cities in itself has very limited staff, and the volume of work, the amount of work that it is executing, I don't think smart city itself is capable of executing such a voluminous work. It has in fact sourced engineers from various departments, for example, municipalities, development authorities, PWDs, and through coordination of all these departments only, the projects can get completed on time. How it is being done in Ajmer? No, in India, we are lucky to have this wonderful authority of district magistrates. I would say it was the vision of our founding fathers that this authority it's pan India. It is available everywhere, and in Ajmer, the district collector has taken the lead role in ensuring that all the departments, be it PWD, be it forest, be it coordinating even with military, because some of the projects that we are executing are on their land, and for that we need clearance from higher authorities. And that single authority of district collector and district magistrate has ensured that there is no laggard. He has been a single point of contact with state, even with center, and all the departments run smoothly. And because of that single point authority, I think because we need a central authority to bring all the because line departments and all various departments, PhD or PW, they have their own issues, they have their own challenges, and this authority has ensured that everyone is on board. Proper monitoring of projects by district magistrate will ensure that projects are completed on time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Devendra Kumar. In fact, you hit the nail on the head when you said, this is probably the most important aspect of these smart city projects, and because a smart city as they have paucity of staff, not much staff, barely few people, and then they have to mostly implement the projects through line departments, and some of the projects are done with them. But these departments also, because they have, as you rightly said, they have their own set of issues, they have their own projects, and how do they dovetail these smart city projects with their own projects? That's also a very, very big task, a very big challenge. And in fact, when we talk about convergence of projects, that is in itself a bigger challenge, where they have to meet the objectives of their original project and then the objectives of the smart city component of that project. But we have a knack of overcoming these challenges, as has happened in the past in many of these projects. And there's one panelist here who probably knows a lot about interdepartmental issues, and that is my dear friend Mr. Bashir Ahmed Bhatt. Because Lake Authority, they do not have an easy task. They have not only to implement the development projects which pertain to the Dale per se, to the Dal Lake per se, but they also have to look at the other aspects with regard to implementation of court orders. Might be knowing, Dal Lake has many directions from the honorable courts, and Bashir Saab has to day in and day out manage the situation and not only comply with the court orders but also undertake this very huge development agenda. Bashir Saab, what is your experience of these linkages with other line departments, or how you overcome the challenges that are usually faced while you deal with multiple departments like PHE, Power Developer Department, Roads Department, Urban Environmental and Engineering Department, Revenue Department, Police authorities, municipalities. So we would like to hear from you on this very important aspect.
As you rightly pointed out, that this is very essential that we have linkage, and wherever there are gaps that they are filled. But fortunately for me, I'll frankly say that court has been generous enough that there were various committees. They have now been disbanded, and most of the conservation and management aspects, we have been given liberty to go ahead with our programs. And furthermore, as you already know yourself, that wherever the smart city has been included as one of the parties in our court cases. So wherever gaps are there, wherever issues are there, we have tried to sort of in a convergence manner try to develop sort of develop the projects with coordination from smart city. I would for the knowledge of the panelists would here say that there are few of the very visionary projects that we are trying to develop and which would go a long way in helping the tourism of the especially of the Srinagar area. The prescient development of the Dal Lake has been an essential part of the Lake Conservation Authority, and the management of it is very essential. And in that respect, we are coordinating with the smart city. We are trying to develop some of the very good projects. We have the sort of funding available with us, but for the DPRs and other things, we're trying to rope in smart city. And fortunately for us, we are on the same page, and we sort of are in the process of developing those. And furthermore, since these utility issues which were being talked about, I think technology as an aspect, technology, since it's main component, one of the important components of the smart city projects, the use of technology can reduce the gaps. So a single window system where a person has to apply for the permission. Say an example of online building permission system has been evolved here. Now it is in sort of final stage. And I think these one element is that wherever the gaps are there, smart city is roped in. And second thing is the use of technology helps us in integration of all wherever the gaps are there.
Thank you, Bashir Saab. I think Mr. Gaurang has joined. Mr. Gaurang, are you there? Okay, I'll move to Mr. Yogesh Kumar. Mr. Yogesh Kumar, while you are implementing these smart meters, there will be a lot of issues with regard to the interlinkages with other departments, or the overlapping of functions between you and various other departments like our roads and buildings, particularly roads, where a lot of digging of roads is involved. So how do you tackle this these?
Actually, there are multiple issues that are coming when we implement the project. that the basic issue comes that the we have when we are planning to install a pole or going to underground cabling, then we needed a road cut. As well as we have to install the pole at the roadside for new supply installation or transformer installation. Then there is a basic coordination between our department and PWD, Nagarpalika, Nagar Nigam, so that we complete work firstly. Then only the other department are doing the work, so that the uh, quality of the work is better, as well as the uh, duplicacy or the when one department completed the work, then we are doing the work, that will be issue. This type of the problem is resolved by coordinating the other department,
Thank you.
like PWD and all these departments.
Thank you. Thank you. So I would now move on to Mr. Om. Mr. Om,
Yeah.
I will ask you a different because since you are from private sector and you do not have much of a ringside view of the interdepartmental issues that confront the implementation of these projects. So I would like to ask you, in terms of IT interventions, there's a lot of data intervention that's required. What is that what are your plans of data offerings for various smart cities of the country?
Um, as I said, I mean, by the way, do have a very close interaction with the BMC over here for the last 8-9 years. So I'm a bit aware of the interdepartment issues also, and not very pleased about it. Okay, so because uh, one one hand doesn't check out other hand at all, So it's a various silos operating in a various place. And BMC is such a large organization. Um, what are we trying to do? Okay, we are trying to make life easier for government entities like yourselves, as well as for private companies. How? Today, if you need a map, so what do? You will have to issue a tender, get the latest current map. See, if the old map is meaningless, a map is a reflection of reality. You don't want to reflect something which happened 10 years ago, right? This doesn't make any sense. All right. So you want current map. So what do you do with that? So you will use tenders because SOI doesn't have map. Google Map is just a line map, and that's used for navigation. It's not accurate, not supposed to be accurate as per the laws of the nation. So it's just a navigation map. Go right, go left. Google Earth, again, 1 meter data. It doesn't really make sense. And you cannot see under the tree. It's a God view, not a man view. You want a man view, not a God view. All right. So what we're trying to do is first time we've been allowed to do so, private parties, to create a library, basically create a content program, like it happens in all over the world. So we will have a 3D map, 3D digital twin content program, where you will get whatever you need off the shelf. How it's going to help you? What the content program is, I think Dr. Roy, my CTO, did show some of the videos. So you may be aware of that. So I won't go into it. And why that data is so useful in disaster management, in flood mapping, as you mentioned right now, in property taxes, 5G implementation, gas network implementation, array of use cases. And we can get into that. So what this mapping program will do, we will make digital twin exact replica of top 100 cities, not only from the top, but also from the under the tree. Okay, each and every feature, each and every manhole, each and every bus stop, each and every light pole will be captured, accurately. This is 5 centimeter data, 5 centimeter, very accurate data. So if you're embarking on a project, all you have to do is buy the data from us off the shelf. It's current, is accurate, is 3D, and it's affordable. Why? Because it's licensed to you. You're not getting it made. It is licensed to you. Therefore, you're paying the license fee. And since you're paying license fee, it's incumbent upon us to keep it current every year. You'll pay AMC for this current every year. All right. We'll fly every year. Nowhere in the world you get so much accuracy. Nowhere in the world have we gone to planning through. Secondly, is 3D, therefore realistic data. Complete realistic. Each and every object that you see on the ground, you can see a chip. All right. And then it's platform agnostic. You don't have to sync up with only Bentley or ESRI. It's platform agnostic. Any platform will work on. So this is our 3D program, which is starting in other parts of the world now. So we're not playing catch up. We're working together with the main mapping authorities of the world. This is what it is.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Ms. Raman, you also have to face, have had to face the interdepartmental issues or interdepartmental, let's not call them troubles, but sometimes they can be troublesome. And I can see Mr. Gaurang Rathi also, because Mr. Gaurang, are you there?
Yeah, I'm there, Mr. Kakru.
So we have so far discussed two very important aspects. One is the stakeholder consultation in implementation of smart city projects, and two is the interdepartmental or inter-utility issues, the challenges that we face during implementation of smart city projects. So both these important subjects, I want your opinion on both these important subjects, because once before we move to the other points, I want your quick response on very important issues. Mr. Gaurang.
Yeah, see, Mr. Kakru, interdepartmental issues, anywhere for that matter, not just smart cities, can be an issue if there is not well-established SOP which allows for real-time interaction between the departments that are concerned with a particular task. And the smart city missions were designed such that the board not only had members of important disciplines and departments that are involved in working in a particular city, but it also allows for that liberty to have various departments on board for a particular task who are importantly engaged. For example, if utility is to be laid, let's say water supply utility is to be raised laid, then that would involve municipal body, the local municipal body. That would involve the public works department, whoever is involved in laying the road. Would involve stakeholders from society, and of course would also involve the contractor and the smart city mission body there in the particular district as well. So the onus lies with the particular smart city to have them on board real time and ensure that all these nitty-gritties of interdepartmental issues are taken care of, because that's not something that's limited to a smart city mission or any government body. If there is no interaction real time between two bodies, whether it be in corporate sector or any other sector for that matter, there are bound to be issues. And for program like smart city, which has bigger mandate to fulfill and give within those tight timelines, then I think it becomes very important and highly high on priority to get these nitty-gritties taken care of.
Thank you, Mr. Gaurang. And coming to Mr. Raman, I was asking you about your experience of facing this interdepartmental issues while you do these projects for the government, and what has been your experience and how it is being dealt in the projects that you have done. Very briefly, please.
Yeah, I also agree with the other speakers that this is a very, very pertinent question that you have raised, and something that we all go through. And it's something, and it is, frankly, it is rather tough to kind of negotiate between these various line departments and trying to make everyone understand the importance of projects, etc. So I heard some of the speakers were talking about having one nodal officer. I would just like to take it to a little wider, because often when you look at a local body, there are different kind of projects happening. Like smart city related projects, there might be Amrit related projects. And very often it's also a fact that when something happens in the city, it is not just the city that is getting affected, it's also the peri-urban areas around the immediate city, the neighboring municipalities or panchayats and all that, because the cities, often the hinterlands are the areas which kind of bear the brunt of this whole development that's happening in the cities and all that, which probably don't get enough focus. So perhaps one of the thoughts that we've been discussing is also whether the governance can actually also be decentralized to take into account the city and its immediate areas around, so that the decisions are a little more holistic, but it doesn't have to go to the state level for all the line departments to be taken, because that might take a lot of time, etc. So this aspect, I think, needs to be also given a lot of thought, so that it becomes a little more sustainable and holistic in its approaches.
Thank you, Mr. Raman. This has been very, very fascinating to hear from all of you so far. But now we have some time. I just want a quick response on very, very important aspect that will come into picture in near future. That is, once the smart city mission is over for these cities, how do you see it being replicated for other cities and towns of the country, which also need upgradation of infrastructure and things that are envisaged under the smart city mission? And I would also request the panelists, in addition to giving their views on this important aspect, also if any closing remarks that they have, because probably we will not get time for any separate closing remarks. So I would first request Mr. Devendra Kumar to give his views on this important aspect that I have flagged, and also any closing remarks that he has.
There are two key things. First is the funding. As of now, Smart City is funded by Government of India, by states, local bodies. If we have to replicate it in other smaller cities, we'll have to raise fund. And I think one of the key things that many smart cities are doing is that they are raising fund on their own, be it through PPP model. They are selling out lands and then leasing it, generating their own revenues, and then using that money for development. So as we go ahead, we'll have to develop funding models where cities can raise their own revenue, because we have 400, 500 plus cities, and looking towards central government or state government for all those cities may be difficult. So we'll have to go towards innovative funding models. Second is human resource. In cities like Ajmer or Jaipur, which have been selected in as smart cities, no, we have technical expertise. But when we go to smaller cities, tier 2, tier 3 cities, we'll have this issue. Do we have the technical expertise within those cities to manage such voluminous, such big projects? So that is another thing that we'll have to look into as we move towards more smart cities in tier 2, tier 3 cities. So these are the two things that I think we'll have to look into. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Gaurang, what is that you want to speak on this, and any closing comments that you might have on this important panel discussion, Mr. Gaurang? I think he's left. Then we come to Bashir Saab. Bashir Saab, are you there?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, I was basically, the smart city mission in the current avatar that it is, it has set in motion an aspirational aspirations among the people, that they also want their towns and cities to be upgraded in the same manner as is happening in other cities. And with Mr. Damendra Kumar flagging the funding issues, how do you see this being replicated in other towns and other cities of the country?
I fully agree with Mr. Kumar.
Any closing remarks that you might have? Yeah.
Yes. Regarding that first point, I fully agree with him that it will always boil down to the funding issue, and for that we will have to devise models and mechanisms to see how these models can be, how these smart city projects can be scaled up in these other towns also. And I think PPP and other models can work. And regarding the closing marks, and I'm very thankful that I have been given the opportunity to share the stage with the renowned people who are the participants of this year. And we are hopeful, as an on behalf of Lake Authority, I can say that we will revive Dal Lake to its pristine glory, and that will in fact be one of the things to sort of look up to, with respect to Srinagar being considered as a smart city. Thank you.
Thank you, Bashir Saab. Very, very pleased to hear that, you have grand plans for Dal Lake, because Dal Lake being the lake that it is, it being the lifeline of Srinagar city in terms of the tourism potential that it has and in terms of the overall beauty that the city has. You're very, very, very glad to hear that, you have very grand plans for Dal Lake. And now I would move to Mr. Om Hemrajani. So what do you think is the road ahead, the roadmap for replication of this smart city mission in other towns and other cities of the country?
I mean, I'm just too pleased by what's happening in this country, quite honestly. And I would like to share my, experience, last week experience. We created this model of 3D model digital city, which we thought was fantastic. And we took it to one ward, and we exposed this to 40 engineers, young engineers, not IITians. These are from Dhule, Nasik, Pune, all those kind of people, and showed them what we're doing. And this is amazing, the kind of ideas they came up with. I think we should get all these young engineers involved. They were just incredible. I was sitting and watching and completely incredulous. How many great thoughts, how many great ideas, innovative ideas come, because we can just imagine the pain. We as private sector, we are other side of the fence. We can just try to guess your pain point. You know your pain point. I don't know your pain point. I guess it. I sit and work with you, and many times try to tell you the government what they need. They don't know what they need in terms of data. We have to educate the government, the private enterprise, that such data is indeed available to you. Half my job is basically going and trying to educate people that such things do exist. So I think great things happen in this country, and we as private enterprise would love to participate and contribute what we can.
While I agreed with most of what you said, but I probably do not agree with that. You saying that we are on the other side of the fence, because I think both public and private sector are two sides of the same coin, and they have to complement each other. In order to further the objectives of the government and work for the welfare of the people and the welfare of the state, and that's why there's a concept of public-private participation, and it is now picking up in the country in a very big way, and our place, our UT, which is JNK, is also not far behind, and we are also looking at very, very big projects through the PPP model. And I would now request Ms. Raman for her views on this important aspect and any closing remarks that she might have.
Sure. As a practicing person in the sector, I feel projects like the Smart City provide enormous opportunity to actually set good models for further other cities and other towns to kind of take off from. Because right now we know that if we need to kind of look at any similar project, we always kind of tend to look at the West or some other place where the climatic conditions may be different, the economy may be different, etc., etc. So if through Smart City, like for instance, we are now helping the local body in the city in Jammu to kind of do rejuvenation of their lakes. We are helping Rajasthan in water body rejuvenation, down south in Coimbatore and Kerala. So all these can actually, if they are able to kind of set standards in terms of sustainability, because a smart city mission, I think, has a very good mandate that there is technology, there is people's participation, and there is sustainability, which are the three key elements for any project to kind of move forward. So if through this project we are able to set excellent models, then I think that itself is the biggest success of the whole project, from which the rest of the country should be able to, not only the country, I think many other developing countries may be looking up to India to kind of set up similar standards. So there's huge potential, and as you said, it has a role for everyone. the governments, the private sector, the NGOs, the citizens, etc. And I think, yeah, the door is
Excellent,
really wide open. I think.
excellent views, and thanks a lot. Thanks for being there. And I will now request Mr. Yogesh Kumar, because he would be the last panelist to speak on this important aspect and also give his closing remarks.
Yeah, this is the very important aspect about any project. Uh, by the experience, whenever we implement a project, then firstly we got the problems that we are facing, hurdles that we are facing. Second is fund management, how to flow the funds. Second, next is the implementing process and the flow of work. When we are doing the work of the any project, then we got the expertise or experienced manpower. When all things are combined at any places, that must be utilized in other towns and other places and other projects also, so that the quality as well as the efficiency of the work will be improved by this experience, old experiences. Hurdle will coming less in new project, and quality will be better. Uh, so this is all from my side. Thanks to all and the NHCC and Srinagar Corporation to invite me in such a wonderful panel discussion. Thank you all.
Thank you,
Sir,
Mr. Yogesh.
sir, we have a
Thank-
speaker certificate for you
Hello?
all. Hello, I'm audible?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah,
yes.
Mr. Farhan.
Yes, sir. Sir, we have a speaker certificate which we would like to share you all, and we'll email it to you. Dr. Bashir, sir. Lacharaman, ma'am.
Thank you.
Iftikhar, sir.
Thank you.
Yogesh, sir.
Thank you.
Devendra, sir. Om, sir.
Thank you.
Gaurang, sir. And Sanam, sir. Sir, we will mail it to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Farhan. And in fact, it has been a privilege to be hosting, to be moderating this very, very, very high panel discussion, heavy duty panel discussion. And I am very, very confident that this discussion that has taken place has been of immense help, not only in understanding the perspectives of various smart cities of various people, particularly from the private sector, and this will help us in planning our projects in a more better manner, and in a more robust manner. And I look forward to maybe see you again in some other forum or in some other panel discussion. I thank you all for sparing your valuable time and being part of this very, very important initiative of the organizers with regard to the conclave. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you,
Appreciate
everyone.
it. Thank you.